Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 190. And if you guys followed my IG page where I do the reels and shit, I was gonna talk about this particular topic. But first things first, it's always Ravens gang, man. Even though we lost to KC by literally a toe. Yeah. But that was a good game though. Definitely got some things we have to work on. Offensive line got it tweaked out a bit. The running back game, you got to find spots to put Henry in. But Mitchell's playing great. Everybody played great. Like, like Lamar had a couple shots downfield, that I thought he could, he could have hit his targets better. I mean, overthrowing guys and and throwing the ball behind guys is like wide open guys too. And there's another interesting fact that Andrews wasn't targeted as much as likely was. So I don't know, but I do think they need to get a blocking tight end, a guy who can pass block and pass block and run block, not just a receiving tight end, because both Likely and Andrews are receiving TEs. So anyway, let me get back to the topic at hand, man. A couple days ago I posted a reel, and brother was talking about how people would date people for status and everything too. But a lot of people don't recognize that. Oh snap! Instead of me dating this person for status, how about I date them for to see how good of a parent they are, because you don't want to be 2-3 kids in, two, 3 kids deep and find out like, damn, this motherfucker's a shitty parent, or damn, this guy's a shitty dad, or she's a shitty mom, or whatever it is. Because a lot of people think that just because we have a baby together, this motherfucker's gonna act right. No. And that's never the case, man. You're never gonna get somebody to act right when they don't want to, And I say that because it's true. It's like you're never gonna get somebody to act right when they don't want to. It's like Steve Harvey telling people, "Hey, don't let a person tell you more than once that they don't want you." I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that's basically what he meant. And that goes with friendships too. You don't have to sit there and fight for a friendship that doesn't want to fight for you. You don't have to sit there and make space for people or a person in your life that isn't who they say they are. And it's like, okay, because a lot of the times when shit ends, that allows something else to come in, something else that's beautiful, something else that's worth your time. And I think the panel on tonight's conversation hit it right in the head, man, because I've seen a lot of people, men and women, get involved with somebody and they know it's not a good thing. And then they double down in the situation, and then they have a kid with this individual. And it's like everybody around you can tell you that this individual is not worth it. Everybody around you can tell you that. They can point out this person's behavior. They can do X, Y, Z. But for some reason, people just don't. They don't believe it. They think, oh yeah, it's just a phase. It's gonna roll through. It's gonna be whatever. Boom, 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 boom. And then it's not. What this person is showing you is their real is a real character, who they really are. And I think that's extremely important to realize that, because you don't want to be in a situation where you waste decades, years or decades of your time, and come to find out that you don't know anything about this individual. Or you think, oh, just because you gave them years of your life that they're gonna automatically turn around and be a good dad or be a good mom. It's like, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You know, you can't make somebody be something that they never were. Say it again. You can't make somebody be something that they never were. You can't force somebody to look, you know, who's never thought of other people to think of other people. You can't force somebody who's never had to watch the kids, make them do their duty. But also too, like, where this falls too is like, a lot of people don't want to recognize the red flags, and that's what the panel was talking about in that clip. You know, and even Kitty said the same thing too. She's like, yeah, like, you know, instead of us like, oh shit, now we got to figure this out, boom, 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 because there's so many different ways how to raise a child, from parenting styles, from how you gonna pay bills, and that type of shit, right? There's so many different ways, right? I've been in situations where I've dealt with women who've had a child or children by another man, and I come in as a disciplinarian, you know, meaning that I'm funny and fair, you know, but at the same time, I'm not gonna sit there and have you have a temper tantrum in front of your mama. Or I'm not gonna sit there and have you talk out the side of your fucking neck. You're out of your fucking mind, right? But then again, that's how I was raised. How I was raised is completely different, man. My father was a strict disciplinarian, authoritarian for the most part. He wasn't really bendable. Meaning, basically, what, you know, the definition of authoritarian is like you doing the things their way, right? And in turn, it kind of made an eggshell parent, because everything that I did, wasn't good enough for whatever reason, right? And anyway, that's besides the point. It's important to realize different parenting styles, and I think it's also important for people to see people in every single season, you know, and that's why for me personally, I have what I call a 3 to 5 year plan. 3 to 5 years, right? Okay, so obviously you'll be dating throughout this whole entire period, right? And the first year don't really count, because you're still getting to know each other, still getting to understand each other, still trying to coexist, more or less, right? So you're trying to do all that. Second year, maybe you move in together, you know, and then you start splitting bills, and you start, whatever it is, right? You start cohabitation. Third year, a topic of marriage may come up, and that's when you start planning shit, you know. Fourth, fifth year is like, okay, you've seen them in their seasons. You've seen them when they're happy, they're sad, traumatized, X, Y, and Z, right? Cause you're gonna see people in those seasons, you know, if you spend enough time around them. You know, it's impossible to not see them, you know, in those seasons, you know. And those seasons I'm talking about is your spring, your summer, your fall, and your winter. You know, spring's your happy time, you know, leading into summer. And that's when everything is fun, it's light, it's goofy, you know, for the most part. Fall is when shit gets a little serious, you know, weather changes, you know, the leaves on the trees change, that type of shit. And then winter is, yo, I'm going through some shit. Like, it could be, you know, yeah, the father of your children, just acting an asshole, you know, never really thought you would leave until you left, right? That type of deal. So you're done with that. It could be money issues. It could be a plethora of different things, man. Like, you have to see how people, or it could be this daily conflict, and the conflict doesn't even have to be you. The conflict could be your friends, your family, her friends, her family, her work environment, whatever it is, right? There's a whole lot of shit that pops off within those, within that time frame. And when it does pop off, it's like how you deal with it is paramount. Like you don't sit there and make excuses for it, but at the same time it's like, okay, look, like this is the game plan, this is what we're doing, and you have to make it known. You have to understand, you have to make the other person understand, okay, like, look, it's not the most ideal situation, I get it, but here's how we gonna handle it, It helps if you're solution based. It helps if you look at the positive in every situation. As I was having a conversation with another gym bro yesterday. I said, yeah, man, it's like a lot of people, man, it's like they don't understand that there's positives in every situation. Like the negative could be this fucking big, it's so big you can't fit on a fucking screen, right? And the positive could be this fucking small. But because the negative is so big, it overpowers the positive. But if you look in the situation, you'll find out that the positive is right after the negative. So if I just focus on the positive gets bigger, 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 and bigger. To the point where the negative is like you'll look back on it 5, 6, 7, 10 years later, and like you'll laugh about it. Like, damn, I like, like I did all that for a motherfucker who never wanted me in the first place. And when I say motherfucker, I mean men and women, because both the genders can be a motherfucker. So with that being said, man, it's like it's important to understand what you're getting involved in. It's important to understand that, like, I'm gonna be real with you, dog. It's like, yeah, some days my shorty don't want to talk to me, and yeah, some days I don't want to talk to her, And it's not because we're upset or mad with each other, because we're not. We're just trying to navigate, our situation, And sometimes you just need to recalibrate by yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like there's nothing wrong with basically saying like, hey, look, baby, I'm gonna call you back. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you just, or vice versa. Because sometimes you just need that space by yourself. You don't have to always be up under each other. And that's important. You don't have to need to do all that. There's no reason for that. And I think the brother on the panel hit it up, hit the nail on the head, man. There's like a lot of people, like I said, they don't take the time to understand their partner or understand that, okay, these are the red flags. If I compound the situation, I just make it more difficult for me to leave the situation. And a lot of times when people leave the situation, they should have left that shit years ago. Or like, they're looking at it like, damn, this shit shouldn't have gone past the first or second date, But then again, you're looking back on years. You're not looking back on minutes or moments. You have years of evidence. Whether it's physical, psychological evidence, whatever it is, right? And a lot of the times when people leave situations like that, like they want the spouse to be a good mother, a good father to their kids, and it's like sometimes you're asking too much from the wrong person, man. You know, you're asking too much from an individual who can't give that because they don't know how to give that. You know, you're asking an individual to do all that when they don't possess the skills to do all that. You know, you're asking somebody, to do all that who's not equipped to do all that. You know, and it's sad because a lot of the girls who do get messed over, that I know, or who do end up getting jaded in a situation like this, like they're extremely beautiful, extremely smart, and it's like they end up wasting years with somebody who just. And I'm not saying I'm not saying this girl's general because I know it's both ways, but I'm talking about my personal experience with people that I know. They end up wasting years and years with these individuals, and it's like, fuck, it's like everybody saw it except you. Or maybe you did see it, or maybe you thought it would change, right? And at the end of the day, yeah, you can hope for change. You can, you can wish for change, but sometimes if you want change, you gotta change it yourself. And sometimes the hardest thing for you to realize is that the person you want the most around you is probably the person that you're better off without. Like, you don't need somebody criticizing you 24/7. You don't need somebody, and it's different than, when I say criticize, I mean somebody talking about you, your physical appearance, your fit, whatever it is, right? Like, it's different when people are offering you constructive criticism, right? It's like, let's say you have a goal, right? And you're like, yeah, I want to do X, Y, and Z, like, okay, cool. Let's say you want to lose 20 pounds in a year, right? Manageable. It's not hard to do, it's really not. But let's say, okay, you telling your homegirls or your homeboys, yeah, dog, I wanna lose 20 pounds in a year. But you don't go to the gym. You don't invest in a coach, to get a diet plan. Two important things. You don't go to the gym, and you don't invest in a coach in a diet plan. Matter of fact, you don't even fucking need a coach. You can go online and pick up a fucking diet plan. Like, you don't get a food scale, which is paramount. Because how the fuck else are you gonna know what you're getting as far as nutrients wise, right? And lastly, you don't track your food. So let me get this straight. You don't go to the gym. You don't get a meal plan or hire a coach. You don't weigh your food. You don't weigh your food. And you don't track your food. But yet you want to lose 20 pounds. How you going to lose 20 pounds if you don't do the full bare minimum things? Actually, I could throw in 5, like you don't go grocery shopping. You just buy whatever, right? So it's 5 things. You don't go to the gym. You don't buy a food plan or hire a coach to help you with this. You don't weigh your food. You don't track your food. And you don't go grocery shopping. How you gonna lose weight if you can't do those 5 simple things? But yet you want to tell your homegirls and your homies, oh yeah, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, a year pass. You don't lose 20 pounds. Matter of fact, you gain 20, 30 pounds. Then you want to complain about how you look when you didn't do shit the entire year that you said you was going to do it. Make it make sense. Like, you didn't do anything. But yet you want people to sit there and not be critical of that. You had a whole year. 365 days. 24 hours per day. 7 days a week. I ain't trying to say that you got to work out 7 days a week. You could work out 4 or 5 days a week and be cool. Matter of fact, you don't even have to train it in train with intensity. You don't. All you gotta do is show up. You can't even do that. You can't even show up for yourself. But yeah, you want to get mad when people give you criticism. Okay, what have you done to not receive that criticism? Again, make it make sense. You're telling people about your goals, but you never, ever did anything to make it a reality. You just fucking talked. You know? It's like, there's a couple guys that I know. They always say, like, yeah, I'm going to compete. I'm going to compete. I'm like, no, you're not. Every fucking year you say that. And every fucking year there's an excuse. Like, what are you talking about? Or let's say, like, you know, let's say, oh, yeah, like they competed once and like, yeah, I'm gonna jump back on stage. They said it every fucking year. Next thing you know, 10 years have gone by. You don't have the same physique. You don't have the same discipline. You don't have the same energy. You may not have the same amount of time. But yet you gonna get mad when people don't believe you. You know? It's like me. When somebody asked me, oh, after I did USA's, they asked me, oh, are you gonna do any shows this year? Like, are you doing the Aloha Muscle or the Shine Ray? It's like, no, I'm not doing another show for maybe like another year or two, because my body just got tired, you know. Like, my body just got worn out, and taking breaks is important, man, but it's like, you can't go, my point is, you can't go around talking about your fucking goals and you haven't done anything to achieve those goals. Those ain't even goals, bro. They dreams, because, nigga, you ain't even write them down. There's no plan of attack behind that shit. Like, nigga, go buy yourself a vision board. Type out a fucking plan, nigga. Do something. You know? But don't sit there and be like, oh, you know, X, Y, and Z, boom, 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 you know. And don't get mad when motherfuckers call you out. Don't get mad when people want to be like, oh, X, Y, like, no, it's like, bro, it don't work that way, you know. One of my favorite athletes of all time, Kobe Bryant, once said, he's like, they asked him, like, yo, what drove you to be as great as you was? He's like, yo, every summer I added something to my game, and I worked on it every day, you know. I would work out 3-4 times a day. People were like, what? He's like, yeah, I would, you know, I would wake up at 4, get to the gym at 5 or whatever it is, you know, go home, take my kids to school, whatever, have breakfast, rest a little bit, go back into the gym. Now it's like 8, 9 o'clock. You know, train for a couple hours, you know, get my treatment, whatever it is, go home and get some lunch. Or maybe stay at the facility, get some, you know, and get some lunch. Right back at it after lunch. Go home after my 3rd training session and go back and have dinner. Now it's, you know, 7, 8 o'clock. Back in the gym for another 2 hours. And he's like, if you compound that over years, there's no way in hell you can't get better, because you're physically putting in the work, you know. There's stories of Kobe showing up to like these little small school gyms, wherever they want to play a game at, and he would go rent out, you know, he would ask the guy, like, hey man, can you hold the gym open for me for, you know, for like a 10 p.m. session? And the brother would be in there working out, going through the same movements, you know, crossovers, jumpers, all that shit, right? Working on his footwork. And he showed up on the court. That's why he's arguably one of the best shooting guards of all time. You know, the only person who's better than him is Michael Jordan. You know? But when you put in the work, you won't be denied. You can't be denied because the work is always going to be there, you know? And it shows up, you know, in many different facets. And it's not something that you can just like bullshit your way through. It's not, you know, take for instance a bodybuilding prep, because I am a competitive bodybuilder. You know, the last show that I did, USA's, I'm not saying that I wasn't ready. I'm not saying that I wasn't committed, because I was. Listen, whatever I was doing, my body didn't respond to it. So if you go online and you look at them competition photos, we can see why I placed last, man. I just wasn't. Probably had about five more pounds of body fat to lose, and it showed up. You know, it showed up on stage because of everything I was going through. You know, losing my brother. You know, going through the shit I was going through with that. Not really know how to combat myself with all that, but I never once stood there and fucking blamed it on that. Like, no, this was the goal. And part of the goal was to show up, but the other part of the goal was to hold myself accountable for whatever happened on that stage. And when I had coaches and judges coming up to me telling me like, yo, it's like, you actually got a good physique, man. It's like, you just gotta work. I was like, yo, and I said, yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, but you know, I was like, it was my conditioning and my posing. That's what it was. I'm not gonna sit here and blame the judges. I'm not gonna sit here and blame the fucking lighting. I'm not gonna sit here and blame the tan. Point is, what I did for this prep did not work. And I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah. Like, honestly, dog, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares that I lost my brother, you know, beginning this year. Nobody on the stage cares. Nobody who's judging the show cares. And it's like, we all have things that we go through. We all have things that we have to conquer, you know? And it goes back to the negative being this fucking big and the positive being this fucking small. And once you get past the negative, you realize that the negative is just as big, possibly stronger than the negative. You know, the positive being is this much bigger and stronger than the negative is. The only problem is that we're so focused on something that's negative that we can't see whatever else is out there simply because we're wrapped up in this. And the negative is that my brother, my twin, my best friend, my ride or die dude till the wheels fall off, because that's what it was. He's no longer here. The positive is that he's no longer suffering, man. He's no longer struggling, you know? And I had to think about, like, yo, I had 35 great years, with my dude. Now, granted, were they all the best? No, they weren't. Was I the best brother? No, I wasn't. And sometimes I get caught up in those emotions, like, fuck, I wish I didn't do this or do that. But I gotta remember, I gotta give myself grace, man, because it's like, you know, when those particular instances were going on, I was in high school. You know, I didn't really know how to deal with my emotions. I didn't really know how to deal with everything in general. But in the grand scheme of things, those are negative situations that were so minuscule because the positive was so long, you know. And when you lose somebody like how I lost him, and you don't expect that to happen, it rocks you, because it's like you don't know how to deal with all that. You don't know how to categorize how you're feeling. So it took me months to actually get back to normal. I didn't really start feeling normal until like maybe 6 months after he died. Like, there were times where I would just, sit here, make music for hours, and just stare at the computer. Or there were times where I would just lay in bed and not, and not do anything, just stare at the ceiling. There were times where I was just going through the motions, going to work and not really interacting with people like that because I just didn't know how to respond. And I still don't know how to respond to a point, right? But every once in a while, I can hear my brother's voice in my head, be like, hey, bro, gotta be nice to the people. I know that's not really your forte. I know that's not really your strong suit, to be overly nice to people, but you have to be nicer to people, right? I can hear that nigga in my head right now. The last conversation we had, the last actual conversation, he was talking about my girlfriend, right? And this nigga told me, and the only way that he could, he's like, dog, don't fuck this one up. Like, my nigga, she brought me food, so I already like her. So I know she gonna hook me up with food again. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, dog. He's like, nigga, don't fuck this up. All right, bet. But that's a positive, man, because it's like when we were together, which was all the goddamn time, we were roasting the fuck out of each other. That's simply who we were, man. But to piggyback onto this, man, is like my original point was you have to understand who you're dealing with in a situation. Like getting married, having kids with somebody. You can't just be like, oh shit, now he or she's a shitty parent. He or she doesn't have the skills and shit. No, they never had the skills. You just thought that having a kid with them was going to change them, and it's not. You don't change somebody by compounding the situation or making it more complicated than it already is. What you do with that situation is that you change it by leaving it. There's no point in sitting at a table where the person that you're sitting with doesn't have the same values, same skill set, same temperament as you. And when I say skill set and temperament, it's like how they handle conflict, how they handle difficult situations, how they handle this being in difficult situations overall. Like, you don't do that just by having somebody around, like, and that's the one thing that's really paramount is that stop thinking that you can change everybody. If you want change, be the change you want to be, and simply put, remove yourself from that situation. Like, don't become so wrapped up, so involved with somebody that you forget who you are. All right, y'all, this is about 33 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keep it at 4 piece. Private player, positive pushing. I'll see y'all next week, Sunday. I love y'all, ghosts. And like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. Peace.